And Lucius of Cyrene was doubtless one of those men whose witnessing and preaching led to the start of this church in Antioch. I remind you of verses we read earlier, Acts 11, verses 20 and 21. Some of them, that is, some of those persecuted and scattered from the church of Jerusalem, some of them were men of Cyprus and Cyrene. And so when these men came to Antioch, they spoke to those who were Hellenists of Greek culture and language, who were mostly Gentiles, and the hand of the Lord was with them, and a great number believed in Jesus and were converted. So Lucius of Cyrene then would have been not merely a witness, but a preacher, because here he's regarded as a prophet or teacher. He's the second one mentioned in this galaxy of noted church leaders. The third is a man called Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch. And Manaen would be the equivalent of the Hebrew Menachem, because you can't get all the sounds and letters even in the Greek alphabet as you can with the Hebrew. This man Menahem, or Manahem, was well connected and well educated, because he had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch. And we know from other sources that Herod the Tetrarch was educated in Rome. So this man Menahem, the third church leader, as I'm introducing him here, went to the same classes and sat at the same desk, so to speak, with the great Herod the Tetrarch, well educated, well connected. We see here too God's sovereign grace. Two men in the same class, under the same instruction at school. One of them, Herod the Tetrarch, called Herod Antipas. He was the one who cut off John the Baptist's head. He was the one who appears in the last chapters of the Gospel accounts in connection with the trial of the Lord Jesus. Persecuted John the Baptist, the forerunner, and the Lord himself, and saw to it that both men were killed. And there's Menahem, who went to school with him. Menahem is now a teacher and a prophet in Antioch, and a fellow laborer with the Apostle Paul. So who do we have then at Antioch as teachers and prophets? The first three, we have Menahem with a silver spoon in his mouth, Simeon with his dark skin, and Lucius, who helped start the church. And along with Menahem, the well-bred, and Simeon, the dark-skinned, and Lucius, the church planter, we have Paul and Barnabas, five very capable church leaders, including amongst them an apostle, prophets in the plural, and teachers in the plural, which by my reckoning means 2 of the 5 were teachers and 2 of the 5 were prophets. Otherwise you can't get plurals. That especially if you take Saul as in the office of apostle. This means that this church in Antioch must have been a very great and blessed church indeed. It must have had very capable, edifying, engaging, stimulating, challenging preaching, because it had such notable church leaders. Through the week, this was a strong congregation, and through the teachers that God gave this congregation, there would have been well-attended, lively Bible instruction to the congregation. The children would have been taught in accordance with Jesus' words to Peter, "Feed my lambs." And it's this church, with the teachers that God gives, on the frontier, being built up and in the full flush of its zeal for the Lord, that God says, I'm going to use to be the great missionary church in the apostolic age, as an example to us and all true churches of Jesus Christ. Antioch, in the AD 40s and 50s, would have been like London in the 1640s and 50s, when the Westminster Confession of Faith was being written, 1640s. There were a horde of godly Presbyterian and Congregationalist ministers, so that you could have taken your pick amongst all these faithful, sound churches and godly ministers. Antioch in the mid-1st century AD would have been something like Geneva in the 1500s. You could have gone to that church and listened to Calvin and St. Pierre's. You could have gone up the road to hear William Farel, though he later moved to Neuchâtel, and Pierre Viret would have been preaching in that famous city too. This is a bastion of biblical Christianity, Antioch, and as such, it became a famous missionary-sending congregation. And now, out of these 5 fine Christian leaders mentioned in Acts 13 verse 1, it was precisely the 2 most eminent who were chosen as missionaries. The congregation did not say, one of our ministers isn't very good, we're sick listening to him, why don't we send him to the mission field? The body of office bearers did not say, Reverend so-and-so is not up to much, he would do all right on the mission field, we'll send him. Out of these 5 leaders, the church sent Paul. Paul the Apostle. Paul, who tells us, by inspiration and with due humility, but in truth, that he was not one whit behind the very chiefest of the apostles. Paul, who is the wise master builder of the church. Paul, who is the greatest missionary in the history of the church. They sent him. They didn't say, we need him here, we'll send somebody less capable. We said, we'll send our best man for this task, because it is a labourers of love, a very difficult calling, and we need him to go. And they sent Barnabas. Barnabas was the one who encouraged and solidified this congregation after it had first been established. Barnabas was the one who the church in Jerusalem had sent with that very purpose. We too are of the same opinion that the mission field is not for those who are not up to it in an established church. We are not of the opinion that those who go to the mission field need less training than those who go to be ministers in established churches. We do not say, we'll send Reverend McYoung to seminary for 4 years and he's going to be a minister, but given that he might be a missionary, maybe 2 or 3 years would do him. That would be enough. We don't have 2 courses, with an easier course for those who are going to go out to Parts Farm. Because we're like the church at Antioch in this regard. We don't have this low view of missions. You could easier make a case that since mission work is so much harder, in some senses, you might need more training. That's the way.